Yeah, why franchising? It's all really because we get so many queries to the ADI help desk. Sorry, I was just trying to get the thing recorded for a minute. I'm not functioning today, people, so but must warn you. So we get so many calls, and we have for years. And I think Karen, you can. I've got Karen Brandsgrove, our other ADI here. So sorry,
That's all right. That's okay.
Told you I'm not with it tonight. She's here.
Hello,
so
everyone.
Assuming
I'm the other lady that's on the help desk. So we get lots of calls from help desk, all sorts of different questions and queries on franchises. They can be very varied, and lots of people asking about franchises and the pitfalls, the good things, the bad things. We get it all, really.
The good, bad and the ugly.
The good, bad and the ugly. That's a good way of saying it.
Usually the latter two.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if everything's going swimmingly, then why would you want to give us a ring?
But, so we'd like to hear about those as well.
We would like to hear about those as well. What are the great franchises out there? There are great franchises. So again, I don't know what everyone on here this evening, I don't know what your experience is, whether you're in a franchise, left a franchise, thinking of joining a franchise. I mean, we're not going to go over anything particularly groundbreaking tonight, so there's not going to be like, huge legal advice, because we are only ADIs. I say only, but it's a varied job, as we all know. But on the other hand, we just thought we'd share, some common best practice and some pitfalls to look out for, because the same questions crop up, don't they, on the phones time and time again.
Some things where we've taken time to research things ourselves, where these common questions come up often, and we've taken a bit of time to go away and have a look at it. Some of the questions can be quite obvious, but the answers are not always that easy. So we're just going to give you some of those answers, really.
So hopefully it will appeal to everyone here, and if not, give us your feedback. Either way, give us your feedback. It should give an automatic feedback thing at the end, but always feel free to email us at training@driving.org. Always need to hear feedback, and I'm sounding like Amy now. Give us a feedback form. Yeah, so okay, so we'll get started. Now then, what is a franchise? So this is taken from the Franchise Development Services website. Karen and I were doing a bit of Karen actually were doing a bit of link diving this afternoon and last week. So I mean, a company licenses its trademarks, proven business methods to others in exchange for recurring payments. So I mean, I'm not going to read it all out for you, but I mean, effectively there's a business model set up who has either a proven track record or business methods, and the trademarks or strong branding, and so franchisees open clones of that on a smaller scale and operate. So it's I mean, that's effectively it. You're just sort of satellites of the big thing, of the mothership, if you like.
And franchises can be large or small. I mean, I think McDonald's are a franchise themselves.
I believe.
So there are many types of franchises, to the very small to the very large. So don't sort of think about just the small ones. There might be some bigger ones out there you're interested in as well.
And vice versa.
Yeah, exactly.
We all know the big ones are.
Yeah. True.
So so also look at the other ones as well. There might be some like really great ones locally to you who might be up and coming, but they've actually got all their T's. I was going to say T's dotted and I's crossed, and you know what I mean. The other way round.
The other way around.
And so you're in for a bumpy ride tonight, people. Yeah, it was so it's just a really good thing just to have a little look about and see see what's out there if you're thinking of taking the plunge. So why join a franchise? I mean, as driver trainers, we have lots of options, or a few options, with setting up a business. So one is to take up a franchise with an existing driving school, so you're being part of a ready-made business. I mean, there's always the set up by yourself, the sole trader, so different legal status of setting yourself up. So one of them is sole trader, which is the most common because it's the most quick to set up, and not very painful to do so, or not painful at all. So a lot of sole traders out there. You can have like public, private, limited companies, partnerships. So yeah, lots of different legal statuses of a business, including driving schools. So and it all depends. I mean, what's right for one person isn't right for another. So it's down to ADIs to explore what's out there, think about what different ways are there to set up your business and what will work best for you. I mean, the other downfall with a sole trader, I mean, we've explored, mentioned what's the upside of that. It's quick and easy and pain-free to set up, but the downside is if you go down, it takes everything else with it. So if your business is under threat or you're losing money, then it can, there's no divide between your business and your home life, so you can go on to like repossessing your house and things like that, where if it's like a limited company, you're going to have a bit more protection on there, but different legal status, as I say.
It's important to know the differences of what you could lose and what you might lose if things don't work out. And having a franchise, you've got the support there of somebody that can guide you through that initially.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so why join a franchise and who's it good for? I mean, some of this tonight is going to be a little bit, it's going to repeat itself a little bit because a lot of these headings that we've chosen are the main headings, and we'll try to get some sort of order to it, but they will repeat to a certain extent. So, I mean, they're great for new ADIs who are just qualified or coming into the industry. They're learning the ropes, they're learning about the business and learning about training and getting into the swing of it. So they're brilliant for that type of thing. Also, as I say, easier to stop, so you don't have to sort of start your business up from scratch.
It's less hassle, isn't it, in that sense? Because I mean, I don't know about you, Olivia, but when I first started off as an ADI 15 years ago, I chose the franchise route because for this reason, it was much easier to set up. There wasn't so much there wasn't so much hassle. Everything was provided for you along with the support, and you felt quite supported through the franchise at the time. So it is something for people that are starting out, just to sort of get to grips with things, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's I mean, it's not going to I mean, on the other hand, I mean, often people, it goes hand in hand with why people want to be an ADI in the first place, because often they might be sick and tired of the corporate background, fed up with the boss, telling them this, that and the other. It could be, they just want to set up on their own and become, in control of what they do, and that's absolutely fine. So it's, they're just, they're very similar to sort of hand in hand, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just different, as you say, you might want to get away from the corporate world, but having a franchise, you are still your own person in a sense, but you're just learning alongside that support network initially, just to guide you through initially. But it depends what you want. Everybody's very, very different, and if you perhaps already run a business in a different way, you might already have those experiences behind you, and you know what to do, having run another business, and that of course can help. But for somebody that's never run a business before, hasn't really got very much idea about how things work, it really is something that could be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okie dokie. So again, continued why join. And also it's good for sort of diversification of what you do. So, it all depends on if you just want to teach provisional license holders or sometimes do a bit of post-test training. It all depends on the franchise, what some of them offer. And as we'll go into that a little bit more as we go through, but some of it's sort of instructor training, some of it's, fleet work or
emergency services, disabilities.
You
can do, depends on the franchise, but some of them do offer an awful lot, and they encourage you to get involved in different aspects, and that could be very rewarding in itself if that's what you want to do.
Other benefits where you might get part of your franchise agreement. Again, this is not always going to be the case, but it's always check it out. What are you going to get? Sickness and accident insurance, for example. I was with a well-known franchise, I think Karen was as well, for quite a few years back, where I got accident and sickness insurance. As I could have it as part of the franchise. If I paid an extra couple of quid a week, I could double my cover and things like that. So that is nice reassurance when you're self-employed.
It's very much peace of mind. Otherwise, it's something you have to look at independently, and it's another aspect that you need to look into. Whereas if it's already there and available, it's quite nice not to have to think about those in the early stages when you're trying to set up things.
Yeah, absolutely. And CPD, I mean, you know, as we said, diversification of you and what you want to do. There's many avenues for use of your ADI badge. You know, it's not all. I mean, lots of ADIs come into the industry, newly qualified people, depending on what their, you know, preconceived ideas of what an ADI badge is, depending on who trained them and how much in-depth training they went into, and what, you know, but a lot of people will actually think, well, I can only teach learner drivers, and that's kind of what the adverts say on the TV, isn't it? They kind of lead you to believe you're going to be stuck teaching learner drivers, or provisional license holders, I should say, forever. And absolutely no way.
No,
There's
that's right.
millions of things you can do with an ADI badge.
I've seen lots of franchises recently that advertise CPD, and they encourage you to go on to do different things, which I think is great. You know, you've got lots of opportunities there. It's just a case of investigating what they have to offer and finding out what they do.
Yeah. That's it. Being part of a team, let's face it, it's a lonely existence out there in our cars. We know our pupils and customers better than we know each other. And that's why, you know, it's great to attend like networking events and things like our events that we do. And we often get that feedback on the feedback forms. You know, it's very much really enjoyed the day, got a lot from it, but also really enjoyed the networking side of it as well, because, you know, I'll be able to put names. I see these faces going about in their cars, but I've no idea who they are, and it's great to actually finally meet them on a common ground, you know, so that part of it as well.
And I think franchises you do hear about ADIs that say that they meet at head office, they have a chat, cup of coffee, so they meet up and have you know, get together. So that's quite nice, again, being part of the franchise team. You've got that common ground with people that you don't always have if you're on your own. You're out there on your own, you know, having that little cup of coffee on your own sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
It's sad.
But sometimes it's nice. You
I
know. Want a bit of space, don't you? One more speed bump, I'll go crazy. So marketing support, so sometimes you might, you'll get some branded stuff, advertising, promotional stuff. You know, they might do some marketing pushes in your area, certain postcode areas or something, to try and drive business up a bit. They might even do courses for you to say, right, this is how you can market yourselves even better. So, you know, some of them will offer this as well. Branding, always a powerful thing. People, you know, respond to branding, especially like some of the more well-named, some of the bigger brands, because people find a certain reassurance, I think, with those. They think, okay, you know, those guys, they do all sorts of things, so they're quite a reputable company, so I'll go with those.
Of course, they're out there, aren't they? The cars are often quite noticeable, so people are very aware of the branding when you're out there as well.
Yeah, and then taking card payments. I mean, some franchises are going to give you, you know, terminals or, you know, means sometimes to take that card payment as well. As also business rate mobile phones as well. So, but mobile phone bills can be horrendous for ADIs and, you know, things like that. So sometimes they've agreed, if it's, especially if they're a big franchise, they can, you know, go to a mobile phone provider and say, look, we want to get X amount of hundreds or thousands of these things, and they'll give them a business rate that you can benefit from.
And they'll often take the payments at the head office, so you're not even having to deal with that in car.
Yeah.
So you haven't got that worry either. Often, not all franchises again, but some of them will take the money up front.
Yeah.
And then put it into your bank account, which is nice and easy in some ways as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's this good for then? So we've established good for newly qualified ADIs. People who don't want all of the hassle of setting up a business from scratch. So the business is there, it's ready made. Yes, there's you know, they've got to maintain the business, and they've got to look after it. I mean, I had a franchise for 9-10 years with a big brand, one of the biggest ones out there. Henry's actually asked me what the franchise was. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say on here. I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
What are the rules? I'm not
one of the big one. One of the big ones. There are only a few really big ones. Perhaps if you
sort of black
put it out there, we can.
Black and yellow colour.
Yeah. Bees come to mind.
Yeah. So, and I thought, you know, I had an extremely positive experience. If anyone can put those two and two together, I'm sure you can. But I thought they were extremely good. Yeah, no one's without fault. There's no perfect solution for everybody. There's going to be things and there's going to be issues. But it, you know, my experience was a very, very positive one, and I was happy to stay put for so long because I was able to go off and focus on other things, and like diversifying. That's what I did with this particular school. They put me through fleet training, audit. I was a local area coach as well for quite a few areas, so you know, and as well as teaching the learner drivers. So I used to like to expand what I did because it used to, you know, used to interest me. I used to like doing lots of different things.
I think that's a really valid point because I was also with the same large driving franchise.
Was it the black and yellow one?
Yeah, it was black and yellow one. Funny that. But not for as long. I took the option of only staying with them for a year and was on my own for the next, you know, sort of 13 years. So I took a very different path. But I have to say, you know, I did miss out on some of the training. I did miss out on that because I think the larger companies can offer that and give it to you. So I do feel if I look back on my career, it is something that was quite, I did feel I missed out. I diversified into other things, but you're often left sort of picking up the monetary side rather than training with a larger company. So it's definitely something to think about and thinking where you're going to take things, really.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, you know, some franchises will offer this, as I say, like funded fully or partially. Some they'll offer it, but you've got to pay for it as fully. Some don't offer it at all.
No.
It really depends, doesn't it?
It does, but it is there on offer if you look around. There are companies that do offer quite a lot.
Because they want to invest in their ADIs being the best out there, don't they? So, you know, they're going to. So also, I mean, like you mentioned this next one, didn't you, about the initial setup costs?
Setup costs.
You've done both things, haven't you? So
one of the things you have to think about, obviously being on your own, is how you're going to market yourself and how you're going to get out there, how you're going to set up with stationery and advertising. It's only really when you start to sort of, you know, put together all these costs that really does become quite a large expense, which perhaps we don't all appreciate until we have to do it. And then you realise actually all the franchise maybe did seem quite expensive, but on reflection maybe it wasn't that bad because there's quite a lot to pay for outside of it. So you just got to, again, perhaps put the pros and cons down on paper and say, you know, how much am I going to spend on this? By then I'd kind of had a little bit of recommendations coming in and it was easier. I wasn't starting from scratch. But I think you certainly need to think about these things if you're thinking about switching over, really, because the bigger companies do have a lot to offer, a lot of support. Yeah,
okay. So what to check? This one is seriously important. So what to check before signing on the dotted line? Again, this is one of the major pitfalls that we find here at DIA that our ADIs fall into. Often lots of them are our own members, sometimes they're non-members, and they say, like, you know, I really need some help. So for non-members, obviously, we don't want to turn anyone away, but we need to, you know, give all the time for our paying members. That's what the help desk for. And we will give them some sort of, you know, minimal support, but we will support them. But we need to keep the phone lines open, for you guys. So compare the market, check out other franchises and what they have to offer, as Karen said. What's right for one person down your road might not be right for you, and vice versa. Make sure that franchise is suitable for you. So things like flexible working hours. Lots of people like the flexibility of it all. But you can only be as flexible as your customers, though, because, you know, if they only want to do evenings and weekends primarily, then that's you then, isn't it? You know, you're going to have to kind of work around that.
Yeah, and it's the automatic and manual side as well. You know, make sure there's enough work in the area if you choose to go a certain way with the automatic or the manual.
Yeah. Because sometimes I was talking to a lady at an event recently. I'm not going to name the name or say where she's from, but she wanted to join a franchise, and she did, but they didn't have any manual spaces, if you like, available. So she took an automatic, and she then got into the whole disability side of things, and has got into it and embraced it actually in a really positive way, and she's doing extremely well. A very knowledgeable lady. I was talking to her quite recently. So she you know, as you say, it all depends on, you know, what they've got available.
What demands there, yeah.
They might say, well, you know, if you want to go and do automatic only, they may say, well, we haven't got any need for that, and there's no call for it at the moment. No. Area coverage, you know, some franchises try to assign you to an area, if you like. So, you know, we've only got this place over here covered. So, you know, it's finding out, well, I can't think really they can do that, but it might be just one area that they'll only perhaps supply you pupils for or something. So if you choose to work out those areas, I mean, no, they can't stop you, but it might be that they can't
restrict you
in terms of pupil supply, things like that. On that pupil supply, again, this is God, this is so common. Watch out for the wording. Beware of the word endeavour. It's a posh word for try. No one can guarantee work. No driving school, no matter how big or small they are or how good they are, can just absolutely guarantee X amount of pupils for you, for me, and Fred up the road this week and next week and the week after. No one can do that.
It's a chance you take in some respects, isn't it? That, you know, the brand in itself hopefully will support that.
Yeah.
But they can't guarantee anything. You have to be careful that perhaps you've got backup with you know, with your own students as well, and promote yourself alongside the franchise, which I don't know about you, but I used to do as well, promoting yourself along the way, so that you're not just getting it perhaps from head office, but along the way you're taking on new students with the brand, encouraging that really.
Absolutely. So just beware of that, you know, beware of the promises that will able to supply you with these X amount of people. Just you know, again, if it, as we said earlier, if it looks too good to be true, it probably
normally is.
So, you know, just be ever so careful. Again, I think there's also, with not every ADI, I'm not going to, you know, say that, but with some ADIs, there's definitely a bit of a mindset, I think, coming into this type of thing, because they'll think, okay, well, the driving school said they're going to supply me X amount of pupils over X amount of time. It could be per year, per week, per month, whatever. So whatever they say that they're going to you know, give you pupil wise, you've just got to be careful that you don't just sit and wait to be fed by them, if you like. Because again, a lot of ADIs can fall into that trap. They think, okay, well, maybe it's a misunderstanding with the wording in the contract, or the way that the salesperson has sold it to you. Again, nothing against salespeople. We need them. That's what they're there, and they're very, very good at their jobs. But sometimes they may just, you know, imply somehow that we're actually going to get more bang for a buck than we do.
Well, after all, if they're selling a franchise to you, they are going to be salespeople, aren't they? They are going to say all the best bits to you and not necessarily the bad bits. So you just got to be quite curious, I think, and really ask those questions. What do you mean by supplying pupils? How do you go about doing that? Where do you get your supply from? What happens if there aren't many students that week? And what can I do to supplement that?
So, you know, are you able to, you know, what's included? So advertising, things like that. You know, what is the driving school doing to promote that driving school brand in the area that you want to work in? So what are they doing in that respect? And also be careful of just be aware of, you know, the car, what's included in the franchise. So sometimes the car's included, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you use your own one, that's all right. Whatever works for you. A phone, as we said, sometimes you get business rates on the mobile phone. If a phone's included at all, it may not be, don't assume. Stationery, as I say, branded clothing. Some driving schools will do that.
You can't really assume. You just have to make sure that you know, it is included if that's what you want. And I think we've had a few calls on the help desk about car damage and maintenance. This has come up a bit where people have assumed that that's included in their franchise. It may not be. There may be a school that does things differently and they don't include those charges. Whereas others will support you all the way. You just need to make sure you're aware. If you're aware, you can prepare for those eventualities.
Yeah, I mean it's in small print for a reason. You know, they've got to put it in there, but they don't want you to see it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all the horrible bits, but you know they should put it in there. And a good franchise will do. They will put it in there, but it might be very small. So it's just making sure that they give you that time to check it all over. Also, you might think, well, why do I want to know that how to get out the franchise agreement? Because I want to sign up for this thing. And why would I want to find out how to get out of it? I want to join it. But of course, one day your personal circumstances may change. It might not be working out for you as you thought. You might want to just go and branch out on your own. Business might be booming and you're doing brilliantly and you're getting, you know, loads and loads of customers. You think, right, I don't want to line these pockets anymore. I'm going to line my own. So I'm going to branch out and do this on my own. So find out things like notice period. How long do you need to give and how do you need to give it, also importantly. And if you can, who do you give the notice to? Some driving schools will be, say, 3-4 weeks notice. I do know one. I'm not going to name any names. I know there's one for about 12 months.
I was just about to say that, Olivia, that there have been a couple of times where my heart has gone out to some ADIs they're stuck, no fault of their own. They've become ill. They haven't been able to drive. I think a lady recently, she had an accident. You know, things can happen that are unexpected. And then, of course, she found out, or they found out, that they had about 3 months notice to give. And that was just really, really tough because you've then got to pay for that franchise. There's no way out. So that's why Olivia's sort of stressing that point to find out how much notice period, because it's when the choices are gone that it becomes really difficult.
I mean, obviously, that's a brilliant example there and a real example, and there's been loads of ones very similar. And obviously you can't cater for every eventuality. You can't go through life fearful of something because you never do anything. But on the other hand, look at the franchise agreement, look at how long it takes to get out of something, and if it is, you know, ridiculously long, in your opinion, then you got to think, well, do I want this?
Do I want to take that chance?
You don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't know. Or maybe you just prepare a little bit. If you're happy, you really want to go with that franchise, they do have quite a long notice period. That's okay. That can be okay. But maybe just have contingency plans that maybe you have some savings put away should you need to come out at short notice. It just means you're then prepared, and being prepared has got to be the best way forward, really.
Absolutely. So the other one as well, I had this with before I worked for the Black and Yellow company, a driving school, again not naming any names. They're a smaller driving school, again very good, but I wanted to leave just because I wanted to diversify what I did, and I wanted, you know, to explore other areas of my green badge and what it could do, and the other driving school allowed me to do that. But so but again, I had this thing with the previous one, who owns in quotes the pupils if you leave. Well, no one owns them, because if the pupil haven't signed any agreements generally, none that I've ever heard of, to say, right, I'm going to stick with this driving school forever and ever, and they don't do it with us either. They're free agents.
No, they have a choice. I think
of course they do.
I think the franchises just maybe
chancing their arm a bit, I think.
Yeah, and they just perhaps sometimes don't want you to say where you're going or what you're doing, but maybe they don't have any rights over you to say that.
I don't think they do. I mean, again, guys and girls, we're not legally trained here, so we will put this caveat on here now. But so that there could be bits that, you know, we can't cover because we don't know the ins and outs legally. But from a common sense point of view, I mean, I was told this by a reputable source that no one can really enforce this, because no one owns a pupil, not unless they've signed something to say, I'm going to stay with, you know, Fred Blogg's driving school for forever. Which who's going to do that?
No.
So, you know, check out that, because sometimes it could be just easier, even though they might not have any legal jurisdiction over you, it just might be less of a headache. And also it's there are ways around it. I mean, when I left one of my driving schools years ago, I didn't tell everyone where I was going. I just said I'm leaving. I'm going to continue working in the area, but for a different company. And most of them will say, well, who's that then? You know, and majority of them came with me.
Yeah, and I think the best way is, if you want, you know, perhaps if you want to, you know, continue with me, then contact the new school, make an appointment that way. So that way they're going through the official route maybe.
Yeah.
But as Olivia says, I don't think it is your livelihood, and it is something that they can't really restrain too much.
No, I really can't see them doing that, because it's, again, I've not heard of any cases that anyone knows of anything, and you want to let us know, but I've never been an ADR similar amount of time to Karen, and I've never in my life heard of anything like that.
Nor have I. I've not heard of anybody being sort of taken
hostage.
No, exactly.
Prisoner.
No. Yeah. You hear of lots of things, but that's one area that hasn't come up.
Yeah. So another one, do you need to give the car back if it's a car owned by a driving school? I mean, obviously, yes, you will do. But when and where is their depot miles away? So just something to think about. If you work in London, do you have to take it back to Scotland?
Yeah.
So that type of thing.
Because I think often they deliver it initially, don't they? They may deliver the car initially to you when you first set up.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
No, that's right. So it's dependent, isn't it, on the contract?
I've heard of ADIs calling in to say, I've had to go to the old instructor's house to go and pick it up, and it's been in a right state.
Right.
So where they're picking it up from where someone's left off, rather than someone's, it's been cleaned inside and out and it's kind of good as new for you, or a brand new car. So there's some of that goes on as well. So again, it's just find out really.
Yeah. Again, it's just about finding out what they have to offer, really, asking those questions, making sure you know the contract.
Yeah.
Can you be flexible on lesson price? Well, this is something, if you're with a franchise, do they set the lesson price? Do you have to stick to that lesson price? Are you governed by the school, or can you be flexible and can you offer discounts yourself? Because obviously that is quite a bargaining tool when you're out there, and if you have got that ability to be able to sort of come down a little bit on price, it can make all the difference sometimes between keeping somebody or them going to another school. So I know for myself that's quite an important question. Can I be flexible on the price? And I think I even remember asking that question when I was on my induction day at that time.
Yeah, sometimes again it's there's a ceiling price that the driving school will operate in an area. Sometimes it's done on postcode, sometimes it's done just a blanket price across the board, sometimes it's evening, weekend rate, or it's all sorts again. But it's a case of you might be able to undercut it by a couple of quid if you're just doing an offer to somebody, or you can't go over that, as you say. So yeah,
you just have to but what one of the more worrying things that we have been asked is, or we've had called in on the help desk, is setting caps at how much an instructor can earn a week with a franchise. And again, often people won't be aware that they are capped at a certain amount.
Some of them are.
Some of them will be, some of them won't.
Panic.
It's not everyone. I mean, everybody's different, but
we have heard of it.
We have heard of it. So you have to be aware that few, I would say,
very few,
may well cap the amount per week, or the number of people, whatever that may be. So again, it's just being aware. As long as you're aware, it's not necessarily
it might work for you if you don't need to earn shed loads. You just want to, it's more something you want to, just something to keep you going, an interest more than, serious money. Got a question coming about from Emma. My franchise agreement says that they will contact my pupils to try and transfer them to a different instructor. I'm deliberately not saying a driving school. It is a franchise if I leave. So yeah, again, that's what they can do. But again, you're in there first, aren't you? You're with them.
You're with your student, aren't you? So they're bound to ask you. I think it's just a case of being discreet, really, to some degree.
Yeah, again, it's just if, the pupils get to know us, we get to know them, and you build up that rapport with them, don't we? So it's usually 9 times out of 10 unless something is seriously wrong, they're going to go with you. And I can't see it happening in any other way because they're used to you.
Yeah, I mean, you might get one or two people that maybe want to stay with the brand because maybe the parents have chosen that.
Yeah.
You know, that could happen. But, you know, it's about being diplomatic and doing things professionally and perhaps letting them ultimately decide.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, for whatever your reason for leaving as well, it's as you say, Karen, it's remaining professional and not slagging off the driving school, because or anybody, because that's really not going to get anybody anywhere. What is the purpose of it apart from making you look like sour grapes? It's not good, is it?
Yeah.
And how's that going to look to your customers? So whatever, if you are leaving a franchise or anything for a particular reason, say it's a negative reason, then that really should remain between you and that driving school and not be broadcast. And a lot of ADIs that wouldn't even dream of saying anything like that. You just say, yeah, we've just chosen to leave.
Yeah,
and I'm going to move on.
Diversify maybe into a different area, and I think most people will have a lot more respect for an instructor that leaves professionally and doesn't perhaps say anything about the school, because there will be that feeling of why did you stay otherwise, and that doesn't look necessarily the way you want it to.
Absolutely.
So, living on good terms is always much better.
It's always easier because you never know, you might want to go back one day.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know. Are you limited on what you can earn each week? I think we kind of covered that one. Yes, you covered that one. Sorry. Again, finding out how you're going to get paid. I've done both on there. Notes stuffed in an envelope. Or backs. I'll say the black and yellow school. They weren't.
They weren't notes stuffed in envelopes. No.
It wasn't. It was a little bit more professional than that.
Well, I didn't get any anyway.
No, but you know, sometimes it's, and again, if you've got pupils that have prepaid lessons directly with a driving school and they've paid by card, say, and they've got money on their account, but then you've got some cash pays. It's you know, what do you do with the cash? I've worked for one driving school that wanted every single penny of cash I took back in every week, and then they tot it all up against the hours I'd done and whatever I'd earned myself that week, and then gave me a handful of notes and on your way, and that was how they worked every week. But some will say, well, if they pay by cash, then you know, we'll
keep cash.
Yeah, you manage that.
Manage it, yeah.
You give receipts, you make logs of that, because again, most ADIs will give receipts or put a record of the cash somewhere, but again, some won't. We get calls from pupils, members of the public, parents, all sorts. My instructors, we've given them all this money, they've done a runner. Have you got any contact details for them? Well, no. Well, you know, they should have maybe done their own homework a little bit before, but obviously that's not a good place for them to be either.
There is another really important safety aspect to carrying lots of cash in the car. I mean, one of the things, again, of being with, you know, a large franchise is that often people would prepay, the prepay head office. You weren't in the car holding on to potentially lots of cash, which sometimes are, you know, being on your own sometimes, and somebody gives you a huge chunk of money is a concern, because you might not go home during the day. So you've got 8 hours in the car with what can be quite a lot of money.
Sure. Yeah, you can have an awful lot of money sometimes, can't you?
Yeah.
And that's a security problem.
It is a security problem, yeah.
It's things like WorldPay, Pay, you can use your phone, or you can have a handheld device in the car. Take card payments, you know, don't have that cash.
Yeah.
Just before we go on, again, somebody has just written a question. Can't see anyone else's questions except my own. Is this the same for everyone? Yes, it is. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing or the system. Just so everyone knows, if you do send us a question, you won't be able to view everyone else's. That's not a way that I've set it up. That's just the way that Citrix, who are the GoToWebinar people, that's just the way that the system works. We did have an old system that we used, or we trialled it last year, Any Meeting, which a good point was the fact that everyone can see each other's questions. But what's bad about that method is the fact that everyone starts talking amongst themselves. And then we have like this dual thing going on. You know, people are like torn between looking at the chat box and listening to us and watching the screen and going, oh my God, I can't cope with this. So so this is normal for this. When questions come up, we are reading them out. we won't use surnames, and we won't use any particular thing that will identify anyone necessarily, unless they're happy to be. And so, yeah, just so you know.
So anything that comes up, we will make sure it's covered, and
We'll read it out.
We'll read it out so everybody gets to know what the questions are.
Yeah, that person will know us anyway whether it's been read out, so you can always go, oi, you've forgotten me. So yeah, I mean, again, pupil supply, should ADIs promote themselves anyway, and are they allowed to? So again, we kind of touched on this. A lot of driving schools will say, yeah, here's some promotional materials, or yes, you can use your own promotional materials, or give you some branded stuff, which obviously attracts business for you. So you're happier, you're likely to stay with that driving school, but they're also the driving schools getting their name out and about as well in the area. So it's a very good, very smart marketing move on the driving school's part to do this. And it's fairly small cost to get a bunch of flyers printed up. It's not it's not extortionate amount of money for it by any stretch of the imagination.
But again, when you're new to it and you're not sure about the marketing side, it's good to have a strong brand behind you.
Yeah,
it means that you can hand things out to people and people know it, they automatically recognise it, and that can give you that confidence to market yourself alongside that brand. So
absolutely.
Again, it's very good for beginners.
Yeah, and it's also good, I mean, some of you guys and girls on here tonight, you might have been ADIs longer than us, or on your own, not even thought about a franchise, but perhaps thought, well, I'm going to come along, have a listen, see what they've got to say. You might be instructor trainers, so therefore you might have someone who you're training up, but you don't offer that service of a franchise yourself. So it could be somebody who wants to, you're purely just training them up to get their get qualified, and therefore you need someone to discuss the pitfalls of franchises with. So could be all sorts of reasons people are joining in tonight. Okay, some of the common issues. Beware of a franchise online. This is Karen's one. She come up with this. This was a blinding point.
The reason why I kind of, this particularly in the forefront of my mind, is that we often get a lot of the general public calling us saying, I booked 10 lessons online and I haven't heard back. I don't know how to get my money back. Have you got a name of somebody, I would normally say, and they don't. They haven't got a contact details.
You got a call earlier about this,
I did,
this morning.
and it's quite concerning because they do come in quite regularly. But that's the same as a franchise. Do you really want to join online without knowing who you're dealing with, where the company are they registered to an address?
Yeah.
And, you really need to meet them. I say this to the general public, meet your instructor first. Make sure you have an introduction before you hand over lots of money.
And get some terms and conditions in front of you. I mean, we like terms and conditions.
Yes.
They can be, some instructors will be like, oh, blimey, bloody terms and conditions. But it's common sense because everyone knows where they stand.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fine if nothing ever goes wrong. You don't need them, and that's great. But when you do, that's when they come into their own.
It's a bit like a seatbelt.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? Really?
Use that analogy. You don't want to use them.
You don't want to use them, but if it's there and it's on, it's going to be your lifesaver. And terms of business are the same. And we say this again, don't we, Olivia, to lots of the general public. Have you seen terms of business? Where do you stand? So for us as ADIs, I think it's really important. Make sure you meet that person that you're going to be doing the franchise with.
I'm going to do one of my shameless plugs now. I'm actually getting quite famous for these, but DIA do, again, this is not, it is all right, it's letting you know, it's not something which you're shoving down your throat and you've got to do it. But any ADIs listening now and you think, right, I don't have terms and conditions, I think I need some, DIA does have them for members only, and a terms and condition pad. They're underwritten by Fordamore and solicitors. They're carbonated and lots of small print, but they cover the basics, and a little bit more as well. They're £12.80, I believe, in the mail order shop. You can get them from our website, driving.org, and go to the shop in the top right-hand corner, or you can give us a ring from 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Not now, please. We're going to go home soon. We've been here since 9 o'clock. So you can get these things, and again, they may not cover absolutely every eventuality. However, but on the other hand, what you need to remember is if you think, well, things like sat-navs use or cameras, in-car cameras that you use. And if these T's and C's wouldn't cover that, because since then, you know, we got the more sat navs and cameras in cars than ever before. But I don't know, again, I don't want anyone quoting me on this legally, but I don't see an issue with writing it or typing it on a separate piece of paper, attaching it to the original terms and conditions, getting them to everyone to date and sign it.
Yeah,
because it then forms part of that agreement.
Yeah.
But again, from it, you know, will it stand up in the court of law? I'm not absolutely sure. I couldn't say, but I would like to think it does.
I think anything you have that's in writing and that somebody signed and agreed to has got to be better than nothing.
It's an agreement, isn't it?
And I think our terms of business are just guides. You know, I know they don't cover every area. We've got a question here, doesn't cover all, perhaps Scotland and different areas. There will be you know, amendments that you have to make, but I know from my own experience you can do your own terms of business.
Of course you can.
You can have something yourself. So these are just guides. We're just helping you to think about those terms of business.
Yeah.
But you can get that source from lots of websites on terms of business, really.
Yeah.
Have something in place. That's the important thing.
It might even be better for you to create your own ones, as Karen said, and you just tailor it far more to what you do and people need. So, yeah, I mean, there's, you know, lots of variants out there. Anything said verbally, again, get it in writing. I mean, lots again, this is another common one that we get, where someone has gone, an ADI has gone to talk to a franchisor as a potential franchisee, and they've said, oh, I'm not happy about that part of the contract. I said, fine, no problem, we'll get that changed for you, sign here. And again, it's not, it's all been a verbal agreement, one word against the other, and that's not happened.
No, it may be an oversight, maybe somebody hasn't made those changes, but again, once a change has been made, read it through again, just make sure that those changes are in place, and that it does read as you want it to, because it's easy to not see things sometimes.
Yeah. As you say, it could be just a genuine...
Just a typo, it could just be a genuine mistake.
Genuine mistake, or it could be someone who's trying to pull a fast one. Let's face it, you never know. Okay, so some advice, just to start wrapping things up a little bit. Karen's come up with the first one, which is a good link. So have a little read on there. I believe they're UK based, even though it's a .com website, so you can have a little look at that. DIA help desk, you can ask us, you know, we can deal with more of the common sense side of things and say, well, have you thought of, and discuss certain issues with you, and we do this quite often, and sometimes in disputes it's it's good practice to say, write out a timeline of events and just keep it matter of fact, and sometimes that can go a long way to helping solve disputes with the driving school, rather than you said this and I think that you're one of them, and it's just keeping your personal feelings out of it. Difficult to do when you're annoyed, but just to, you know, and just say, well, on the 8th of June this happened, 10th of June I didn't hear back even though I'd emailed. And sometimes it's good to just have like a, you know, a log of what's happened, so someone can look back and go, oh yeah, and maybe get it resolved that way. You know, sometimes it's just a basic common sense approach can do a lot. British Franchise Association, have a look at those guys as well, not just necessarily for driving schools but franchises in general, so good to have a little look. And as we said, you know, go to a business premises or head office. Another great tip, speak to other ADIs in that driving school of your choice, not people they may have set you up with or recommended. So, you know, go and collar someone. It could be an ADI, you know, as we all do. Sometimes we sit at the side of the road and have our sandwich or have a cup of tea out of a flask or whatever we do, just having 5 minutes to ourselves. But I did when I went to join a driving school years ago. I you know, there's a guy who regularly used to park around the side of where I used to live. I went out there and I just said, excuse me, can I ask you a couple of questions, sort of thing. So, and sometimes, you know, you might have a recommend an instructor or something like that kind of thing. Like DIA, we have recommend a friend, so you might get some sort of financial bonus out of it as well. You never know. Always good. Always seek independent legal, financial or other professional advice. Make sure they give you that breathing space to go away and to do that and they're not kind of, trying to pressurise you into signing, because
Yeah, you
that's
don't want
an
them to
alarm
sign,
bell.
exactly. You don't want it to sign anything on the day. You need to go away, let it digest, have a think about it. There needs to be that time where you can assess it.
Yeah.
And obviously things can happen, things can go wrong. If that's the case, then again, call us on the help desk. We do have some lawyers that we can guide you to, who will give you some initial free advice, just to sort of set you on the right path, and they can help you. So if things don't turn out so well, we have got some options there for you as well. But in the first instance, we will try and talk you through some of those things. It's in a very emotional time when people want to leave franchises and perhaps they're not left the best of terms. Just sometimes putting a few things into perspective, it won't feel as bad. It just perhaps feels bad at that time.
Yeah, fantastic. Henry said, is that franchise website correct? Yeah, it looks like it's spelt incorrectly. That is correct. I've just typed it into my work computer, so we're running off a laptop at the moment. And yeah, it's Go Find a Franchise. So it could be just go find a franchise. There's some franchise news, business advice, franchise exhibitions. I mean, obviously that's it may not cater for driving schools as such, but there could be some more interesting things on there that maybe never heard of.
That particular Find a Franchise is quite good because it's got some sort of some things to watch out for, what things to ask, where to sort of spot a scam and that sort of thing. So there's some quite good advice. Just need to do a little bit of searching on that website for those questions and answers, but I found it quite useful information there.
Okay, so any questions? So whilst if anyone's thinking of any questions, we have answered all the questions that have come through at the moment. So if there's anything that you want to ask, now's the time. Use your chat box whilst you're thinking. I'll just go up. Again, I couldn't fit it all onto the slide, so hence I've just gone for the abbreviated version. Go to our website, driving.org, /training and /events. The training, it's all training really, but the training are more like the training courses. So if you're going towards one of our diploma modules or our coaching course, sign up again is next week, 3rd of March. So anyone thinking of, I want to take the plunge, learn more about coaching and client-centered learning, it's all part of the standards check, national standards now. That could work for you. Again, there are others out there, so explore, compare the market. So that one there is coming up on the 3rd of March, just so you know. And also we've got tons and tons of face-to-face training events, loads more than we ever had. The DIA, we've listened to our members, and we've hopefully doing a bit more of what you want us to do. I mean, we've been running the national standards training days since last September, and they've been a real success, helping people with their questions and things about standards checks and national standards, more importantly really. So there's that. We've got our driver behaviour professional development day coming up, so anyone that's been on our national standards day and like that type of format and setup, that's what the driver behaviour is going to be like as well. So what makes us think, behave in a certain way, what drives us to, what motivates us to do certain things in a certain way, and and the human factors that come into things like crashes and everything we do. So there's just a couple of the things that you'll cover on that particular day. So there's that. We've also got our drivers with diverse needs. So that's coming up as well. So drivers with diverse needs is all about looking at teaching drivers, or it's an introduction course. I will stress that. So if you are an experienced trainer in this field, anyone working with disabilities, then it may not be the course for you. It is very much cast your net wide, kind of cover a lot of things on the day, but then we will be drilling down into more detail later on in the year, hopefully, and certainly into next year. So looking at things like vehicle adaptations, how illnesses and disabilities directly affect a person's ability to drive, and in turn understand your role, responsibilities and points of referral as an ADI. So we're working with Sue Vernon of Surrey Drivability, who's also one of our members. She's an ADI from lots of years, and also she's a fully qualified occupational therapist, so she's an ADI with a very strong medical background, and so we're really proud to work with her. So there's that. We've got our Parent Power Road shows coming up.
The conference.
We've got our spring conference. That's been, I think that's Leicester Racecourse.
That's right.
So that's the 27th of April. That's going to be driving through the ages. So we're not just going to look at the young drivers. We're going to look at middle-aged section and also older drivers as well. We've got business boot camp coming up, and we've also got some maybe some coaching things coming up later in the year, and we've got webinars. We've got everything. We're basically
busy,
yeah. But hopefully it's what everyone likes. We've had some good feedback so far. Okay, so we've got some questions now. Okay, stationary was spelt incorrectly. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. That's good because if we ever use these slides again, I will go back and correct that now. So thank you for pointing that out. I'm sorry for that. Considering going independent, when out of contract in the summer, a little worried about a lack of a backup, a pupil supply for my franchise. Can you recommend any good sources to pupils other than recommendations? I think the key to that one is marketing, promotion.
It might be a good idea to give us a call on the help desk for that one. One of us, Olivia or I, will be here, and we'll talk you through some of the options available, and maybe some ideas that you can take forward with that. So give us a call on. I'll give you the number there: 0208 686 8010. Perhaps give us a call tomorrow, and we'll talk you through some options. Yeah, absolutely. So Karen's here tomorrow. I'm more than happy to help. I'm out and about for the next 2 or 3 days. I'm back in on Friday. And also if you want sort of more in-depth marketing, let's say, that we've also got our marketing people here as well. So if you wanted to speak about any particular techniques or tricks or anything like that, which are used in other industries as well, then there's always that option as well. Social media, so all of that stuff. So okay, so that seems to be it for your questions tonight, everybody. Oh no, hold on, there's one just coming. Black and yellow. Yeah, speak to you all again soon. Okay, so thank you for attending, everyone, and you've been a great audience. This will be available on the members area of our website, as all our webinars are recorded now. So go on there, and it'll be in probably within the next week or so. So go on there, and you can listen to it back, plus listen to lots of our other ones as well. So if you're thinking of, say, Sue's course, Sue and I did a little mini series of webinars, so have a little think about listening back to some of those. So as I say, thank you everyone, you've been a great audience, and thank you again. Have a good evening. Good night.